نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه وبعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربنا زدنا علما آمين يا رب العالمين. We were learning about علامات الاعراب الاصلية والفرعية. So let's continue. Today we are going to learn about علامات الفرعية. In the last session we learned about علامات أصلية. We know that the default states for rafa, nasab, jar and jazm are dhamma, fatha, kasra and sukoon respectively. We know that the jazm is used for the fa'il mudari. Rafa, nasab and jar applies to asma, while rafa, nasab and jazm applies to afal only. We learned about alamat asliya in the last session, and today we are going to inshallah learn about alamat far'iyya. And the default states, as I mentioned, are always we see Dhamma, Fatha, Kasra, and Sukoon, or we can call them the real signs for recognizing these four main states. We did the Arab for these four states and we learned that how we can write down the Arab for all these states. Like in the Majzoom state, we will have to mention the alama for the Majzoom and the real alama or the default state for Majzoom is Sukun. In the same way, Marfu state is always in the default is Ad-Dhamma and the mansub state is mentioned or is represented by a fatha, and the majroor state is always written with a kasra, a zahira. So what are alamat far'iyya? Again, we have these four main states, rafa, nasab, jar, and jazm. Today we are going to inshallah learn about al-harat rafa, which is represented by the alamat afariya by waw, alif, and subut noon. And these are all the states which they carry. For halt nasab, we are using alif, ya, al-kasra, and hasf noon, and inshallah we will learn them. For halt jar, it's ya and al-fatha. And for jazm, it's hasf, harf illa, and hasf noon, the omission of harf illa and the omission of the noon. These are all Arab fariya or alamat fariya because they are not the default states of the rafa, nasab, jar, and jazm states. So let's start with Arab fariya for the rafa state. We normally know that the default state for the rafa is dhamma. So what are the other types that a rafa state can be shown? So there are three more ways in which we can recognize that this word is in the state of rafa or it is marfu. By alif, that is for musanna when it is attached with musanna nouns, by al-waw when it is attached with al-jama al-muzakkar salim or with the asma al-khamsa, and the subutun noon, the presence or the sign of the noon, and it only happens with afal al-khamsa for fi'li mudari. Let's start with al-alif. So إعراب فرعية for حالة رفع, the first sign is al-alif, and when it is attached with the musanna. You remember your Muslim jar, Muslimun, Muslimani, Muslimuna. So remember this Muslimani, that alif musanna. We call it alif musanna because it is with the asma. This alif that you see in your dual form is your alif musanna. So here, look at this example. دخلت الميزان إلى القسم. Remember, Muslimun Muslimani, this word is Tilmizani ilal Kismi. So here, this word is a dual form, the Musanna form, and this alif is representing that this is in the state of Rafa. This is how we are going to recognize this ism from the other words. And we know that the default state normally is Dhamma, but because it is in the dual form, then here the sign is this alif, which is showing that it is in the halat of Rafa. So how we are going to write the i'rab for alif musanna? Dakhala, we know that this is fairly madi mabni ala fatha because this always ends with a fatha. This faili madi hua form always ends with a fatha. That is why it is mabni, because it is always fixed on a fatha. Dakhala is faili madi mabni al fatha. What about tilmizan? Tilmizan is file marfu. We know that when we have a hua version, we can look for an outside doer. So here tilmizani is our outside doer or a file marfu. So we are going to write the sign. What is the sign? وعلامة رفعه ألف. الألف لأنه مثنى. Write the reason for having an alif, and that is because it is the dual form. So إعراب فرعية for this تلميذاني is فاعل مرفوع وعلامة رفعه الألف لأنه مثنى. This is how we are going to write the i'rab for this musanna word in the halat of rafa, because this alif is the sign of this marfu state. تلميذان فاعل مرفوع علامة رفعه الألف لأنه مثنى. إلى, we know that it's harf jar, it's mabni. All the harf are always mabni and they don't have any place in the i'rab. So harf jar mabni لا محل له من الإعراب. What about Qism? Qism, we know that it is preceded by harf of jar, so it will be Ism Majroor. What is the reason? Bi ila, because it is with ila, wa alamati jarrihi al kasra. All the Majroor states are represented by kasra, and we know that this is the default or the real i'rab. This is how we are going to see it, because for jar state, the real i'rab is, or the alamat asliya is al-kasra. So i'rab far'iyya, we know that for rafa is dhamma, but here this is alif, and this will be considered as alamat far'iyya. So this was the first one. Look at the second. The second alama for Arab far'iyya for hal rafa is al-waw, and it always is with the Jama Muzakkar Salim. وما يلد به والأسماء الخمسة. It can also happen with Asma al-Khamsa. We know that there are Abun, Akhun, Hamul, Fu, Wazu. So here, inshallah, we are going to do another topic for Asma al-Khamsa, that we will do the i'rab for these as well. But for now, we'll see that how it can be used for Jama Muzakkar Salim. Let's look at the example. حرس فلاحون الأرض. Harasa fallahuna larda. Let's look at the i'rab. Harasa, we know that it's fairly madi. We know that it is from family 1. Bab nasara harasa yarisu. So we will see that this will be from fairly madi mabni al fatha, because we know that it is always ending with a fatha. When we have the hua version, we will look otherwise, we will look for an outside doer, but otherwise it has an inside doer, that is damir mustatir taqdiruhu hua. If we find an outside doer, like here, al-fallahuna, this will be our file, our ism zahir, and it will be represented by these i'rab. File marfu, we know that it is in the state of marfu. How? There is a sign of this wow to show us, to tell us that this is in the state of marfu. File marfu wa alamati rafi, and the sign of rafa is al wow. And this is al era far'iyya. We know that because the real sign or the default sign is the dhamma. So instead of dhamma, we will write wow here. Wa alamati rafi al wow. And why? What is the reason? So we are going to write it after it. لأنه جمع مذكر سالم. Just like that, we here wrote لأنه مثنى. We are going to write the reason here. لأنه جمع مذكر سالم. So حرس الفلاحون. حرس is فعل ماضي مبني على الفتحة، وفلاحون فاعل مرفوع علامة رفعه الواو لأنه جمع مذكر سالم. Alarda, we know that the jumla failure is always, not always, but it after fail or file, everything is a maful bihi or a maful. So here, alarda is a maful, and the sign of maful, we know that the maful or the detail is always in state of nasab, and the sign of mansub state is al fatha, and this fatha is showing that al arda is maful or a detail and in the state of mansub, and this is the real or the default state for showing a mansub, this fatha. So alarda is maful bihi mansub bil fatha, with a fatha. It is maful bihi mansub. And we know that asma al khamsa fil arabiya here abu rakhun hum fu wazu, and these are also having an arab far'iyya, and that is wow, or the other signs that we are going to learn, inshallah. Let's look at the this chart, your Muslimun chart here, Muslimun, Muslimani, Muslimuna. Here we can see these alif musanna and waw jamaa. These are the signs for, or these are the i'rab alamat far'iyya for showing us the rafa states other than dhamma. Okay, the last sign is the subut noon, and it happens with afal al khamsa for fi'li mudari only. The last halat rafa or i'rab far'iyya for halat rafa. And we know that afal khamsa are those fi'li mudari, they are only fi'li mudari because fi'li madi, we know that they have some fixed i'rab, and that fi'li mudari that are only attached, not the whole your pronoun chart, but only those fi'li mudari are considered which have the following pronouns: alif isnain, waw al jamaa, and ya al mukhataba. And we have done this in a separate session for afal khamsa. You can go through that session as well and look for and to have the details for afal khamsa. So here we know that for halte rafa, era far'iyya, the last sign is the subut noon, and it only happens with afal khamsa when they are attached with alif isnain, waw al jamaa, and ya al mukhatiba. Look at the pronoun chart for فعل مضارع فعل يفعل هو يفعل هما يفعلان هم يفعلون هي تفعل هما تفعلان هن يفعلن أنت تفعل أنتما تفعلان أنتم تفعلون أنت تفعلين أنتما تفعلان أنتن تفعلن أنا أفعل نحن نفعل. So here we can recognize our أفعال الخمسة that are يفعلان تفعلان يفعلون تفعلون and تفعلين are these three ألف اثنين واو الجمع and يا مخاطبة. They are أفعال الخمسة, and here this subut noon is a sign of rafa here. This is the rafa chart. We know that this subut noon is a sign of rafa. other than the real sign, that is the Dhamma sign. So this was the last Iraq Faria for Halat Rafa, Subut Noon, which is only found in Afal al Khamsa. Here for Kataba Yaktubu, these five Afal Khamsa extracted Yaktubani, Taktubani, Yaktubura, Taktubura, and Taktibira. And we also did the Arab for these Afal al-Khamsa in the previous session, so we can go through it again. Like here, look at the misal. Antuma takhlusani, antum takhlusuna, anti takhlusina. You can see here, this subutun noon is the sign of the Rafa, and this is our Arab, Far'iyya. And other than, as I mentioned, the other sign was, the real sign was Dhamma, but here, the last sign for the Rafa is subutun noon. How we are going to do the Arab? أنتما تخلصان. أنتما is ضمير مثنى المخاطبة مبتدا. We know that this is جملة اسمية, and تخلصان will be written as فعل مضارع. We know that this is from أفعال الخمسة. فعل مضارع مرفوع وعلامة رفعه ثبوت النون. Alright, so ألف اثنين is our file, we know that. وجملة تخلصان is our خبر of the مبتدا أنتما. The next word is أنتم تخلصون. Here أنتم is ضمير جمع المذكر مخاطب, and this is our مبتدا. and تخلصون is فعل مضارع مرفوع علامة رفعه ثبوت النون. It is our إعراب فرعية with واو الجماعة, that is our file. وجملة تخلصون is our خبر of the مبتدا أنتم. The last sign is a Ya al Mukhatiba, and the sign of Rafa is this Subut al Noon that is present with Takhlusina. And here we are going to write the Arab. Anti Takhlusina, Anti is a Damir Mubtada, Mukhatiba, and this is a Mubtada. Takhlusina is فعل مضارع مرفوع علامة رفعه ثبوت النون. Alright, so this is how we are going to write the Arab. ويا المخاطبة is our file. And our jumla takhlusina is our khabar, and that is our mubtada anti for anti takhlusina. So this was our last sign for Halat Rafa. We learned about Arab, Alamat Arab Far'iyya today for Halat Rafa, and they are three. We know that they are three: Alif, Wow, and Subutanun. Alif is only with the Musanna, like Muslimun, Muslimani. That ism, remember the Muslimun chart, and Wow is for Jama Muzakkar Salim. And the third is Subutanun, and that is with Afal al Khamsa. Alhamdulillah. So, this is it for today. Inshallah, in the next session, we will see what the next era for the state of Nasab, how we are going to write the era for year for Halate Nasab. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.